अबे चतुर, ये क्या नया ले आया तू? अरे ब्रो, ये नई डिवाइस आई है ना, उल्टा च्यूमन, इससे ना ब्लड ग्लूकोज की मॉनिटरिंग होती है। बट तू डायबिटिक है? नहीं ब्रो, बट ये ब्लड शुगर लेवल तो दिखाता है ना। वो तो तू ग्लाइसेमिक इंडेक्स वगैरह तो देख ही सकता है। प्लस तू ऑब्वियस सी बात है, अगर तू शुगर ज्यादा खाएगा या जंक फूड ऑयली फूड ज्यादा खाएगा तो तेरा ब्लड शुगर लेवल स्पाइक होना ही है। हाँ ब्रो, बट मैंने इंस्टाग्राम पे एक फोटो डाली इसके साथ ब्रो, 5000 लाइक्स ब्रो। छोटी बच्ची हो क्या? So you've seen the guy in the beginning of the video. Do not be that guy. Okay? I know the social media is filled up with such kind of people who are promoting nonsensical stuff, but hey, there's a small catch to it. Okay? Continuous glucose monitoring क्या होता है, कैसे है, किसको यूज करना चाहिए, everything is going to be explained in this video. But first off, let me tell you, for most people, I would say that it is not useful. It is just a useless device for most people. Okay? I'm going to tell you why. So let's first understand what a CGM is. As the name suggests, it is a continuous glucose monitor. मतलब it continuously monitors your blood glucose levels, how it is spiking, how it is dropping, and it gives you tips on how you can control that. So this continuous glucose monitoring helps diabetics, type 1 or type 2 diabetics, to decide the doses of medications like insulin or GLP-1 or metformin, etc., etc. But still, it is used as an indicator to see how you're responding to food, but it's no rocket science. Right? Now, coming to the second part of the equation, why would you actually need a continuous glucose monitor? If you are eating too much of junk food, if you are eating too much of sugar, high calorie dense foods, fatty foods, then your blood sugar levels can spike too much, and that's definitely not desired, right? It is a universal fact that high level blood sugar levels is never a good thing, okay? If your blood sugar level spikes too much, it is a bad thing. If your blood sugar levels drop too much, it's still not a good thing, okay? So you want your blood sugar level to be stable between 70 to 100 mg per deciliter. That's the unit of measurement for your blood glucose. And your blood glucose should always be between 17 and 100 in the fasted range. If you are fasting, if you're in the fasted state without having any food, and if your blood glucose levels are still 120, 150, 200, 220, and then you're diabetic. Above 120, you're pretty much pre-diabetic. Above 160 fasted blood glucose, you're definitely a diabetic, okay? Now, if you have eaten a meal which is called postprandial blood glucose levels, that should be 100 to 130, okay? That is good control. 140 plus after a meal is slightly towards pre-diabetes, and then if you are taking a meal and then uske baad if your blood sugar levels are like 300, 400, it happens, okay? It happens in the case of people who don't have enough insulin, either type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes, depends, right? Insulin resistant people or insulin absent in the bodies, that insulin is absent or it is resistant. In that cases, blood sugar level can be very high, okay? Now, for normal people, for normal healthy metabolic adults, the blood glucose level will be between 70 to 120, including like the average fasting and postprandial. It should be between 70 to 120, and that's a good fair control of blood glucose levels. Now, one more thing, it is very obvious that food quality influences your blood sugar levels. That means that if you have too much of sugar, too much of refined carbohydrates, too much of high calorie foods, like let's say if you're having pizza outside or burgers, or you're having cold drinks and this and that, then obviously your blood sugar levels are going to spike too much after that meal, after you have a high sugar, high calorie meal. It is very obvious, right? But let's say if you're having good food, good amount of protein, good amount of fiber, fruits, vegetables, then I'm very sure that your blood sugar levels are going to be very stable between 70 to 120. Coming to the third section. Now, continuously having a glucose monitor on yourself, like having a CGM patch on yourself and checking after every meal. Oh, I had a piece of fruit and now my blood sugar level is 120. That means fruit is bad. Do you think this makes sense? And this is what is happening on social media. I've seen so many stupid influencers putting all of this stupid knowledge. And I've also seen this one influencer saying ki fasting is so good because it stabilizes your blood sugar level below 100 mg per deciliter. I'm like, yeah, dude, because you're not getting any food. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're being very healthy while fasting. So you can perpetually not eat anything and still have your blood sugar levels below 100. So is that a good thing? Don't think so. You need nutrients, you need vitamins, minerals, protein, you need energy. So you have to eat food, right? But obviously, there is another side to it that you have to control your food quality. Now, let's take an example of a meal which has a good amount of protein, good amount of fiber, vegetables, fruits. Like let's say it's a chicken, vegetables and rice meal. It's obviously not going to spike your blood sugar level too much because of the chicken, Protein lowers down your glycemic index of food. Fiber from fruits and vegetables also lowers down the glycemic index of food. Rice, although it is not a very high glycemic index food, it is in the moderate range of the glycemic index, but still when you combine it with protein and combine it with vegetables, the glycemic index lowers down. So taking the example of another meal with, let's say it's aloo and pulao with a little bit of vegetables, not too much, and there's too much of oil in that pulao. And you're having it with lassi, which is sugar wali lassi. It's obviously going to spike your blood sugar level too much. Why? Because the lassi has sugar. So that's definitely going to spike your blood sugar level. You're going to have it in a liquid form. So liquid sugar absorbs quicker than solid sugar, solid food, right? And you take pulao, which has aloo, so white potato, plus rice, it spikes your blood sugar level a little higher, and there's no vegetable, there's no protein, so it's going to spike your blood sugar level higher than the chicken and rice meal. And there's a lot of oil as well, so the caloric intake also adds up to your spike in the blood sugar level. So compare this with the meal, compare this low protein, low fiber meal with the high protein and high fiber meal. The glycemic load on your blood sugar levels is going to be very less in the chicken, rice and veggies, or paneer, rice and veggies meal, let's say. But if you're having just pulao with less veggies and sugar wali lassi or some sweet after that, then you're definitely going to do a lot more damage to your blood sugar levels and going to create higher glycemic load, GL, okay? So again, I have to explain a little bit on glycemic index versus glycemic load for the people who don't understand it yet. And then I'm sure you'll be convinced that why CGMs are not a good idea for sure, okay? Now, glycemic index is basically the amount of blood sugar level that spikes after consuming a particular food, okay? Glycemic index is actually partial information. It's a partial data because it just tells you कि एक food खाने से कितना blood sugar level spike होने वाला है. But कितने क्वांटिटी में कितना लोड आता है ब्लड शुगर लेवल पे, इट डज नॉट से दैट. इट जस्ट गिव्स यू कि इतने फूड से इतना ग्लाइसेमिक इंडेक्स आपका बढ़ेगा. दैट्स इट. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, शुगर हैज अ ग्लाइसेमिक इंडेक्स ऑफ 72, वाटरमेलन हैज अ ग्लाइसेमिक इंडेक्स ऑफ 72. बट लेट्स take this example, watermelon 100 grams versus sugar 100 grams. I'm very sure you will understand the difference that 100 grams of sugar, plain white sugar, is going to spike a lot more blood sugar and create a lot more glycemic load than watermelon, even though the glycemic index is pretty much same, right? Watermelon 100 grams में आपको you'll get only like 4 or 5 grams of carbohydrates with lots of fiber, lots of water, so the glycemic load lowers down. But in sugar, there's no proper nutrients, there's no fiber there, so it's going to be absorbed in your bloodstream very quickly, and the glycemic load is going to be way higher. So glycemic load is the ultimate thing that you have to look out for, not the glycemic index. Okay, now watermelon on paper is a very high glycemic index fruit, above 70, and it is technically the worst among the fruits if you see from the glycemic index. But if you have a big bowl of watermelon, you'll get only like 60 calories. That's like hardly 10-15 grams of sugar that you're getting in it. But if you have like a banana, okay, on paper that has a glycemic index of, let's say, 50-55 something, right? But if you have one banana, then it's gonna create a much higher glycemic load. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, okay? I'm not comparing the two to give you a bad image of banana versus watermelon, but still, watermelon with a higher glycemic index still has a very, very low glycemic load, but banana on the other hand with a moderate glycemic index can still create a higher glycemic load. I can give you another argument for roti. Like even if you have jawar roti, that will still create a higher glycemic load than watermelon because of the fiber and water intake, and you're not going to eat too much of watermelon due to the higher amount of volume and low amount of calories that it offers. Low calorie and high satiety foods like watermelon, muskmelon, papaya, oranges, all of these offer low amount of calories with high amount of satiety, so you can't overeat it. So I'm sure you understand the difference between glycemic index and glycemic load by now. If you control your food quantity and quality, if you have proper mindful portion control, then I'm very sure you won't be needing any CGM patches to show you what you should eat or not. It is simple science, not a rocket science. Coming to the last section, who can use the CGM? It is specially made for diabetics or people with metabolic disorders, but still I would still strongly recommend that if you understand food quality, if you understand food quantity, if you're working with a coach or a nutritionist who understands or who can design a proper plan for you, which includes good amount of good portion control, good quality of food, good quantity of food, etc., everything is properly balanced, if all the vitamins, minerals, fruit, vegetables, fiber, protein, everything is taken care of, then you should not worry too much about having a CGM patch on you and checking constantly कि oh मेरा इतना blood sugar level बढ़ गया, oh मेरा इतना drop हो गया. It's just plain dumb. To be very honest, it is a dumb idea to me. Okay, it's just spending too much money and wasting your money on it. Get good help from a nutritionist and a personal trainer. Do a good workout. Do a good nutrition plan, and it will be sorted for sure. You don't have to worry too much or be paranoid about your blood sugar levels, constantly monitoring it. Okay, you don't really need it. And that too, for a diabetic, HbA1c tests are still more reliable and they work pretty good. You don't have to worry too much about blood glucose monitoring. If you have your HbA1c test, which is basically the glycated hemoglobin, kitna glucose is attached to your hemoglobin, that's a good fair marker of your diabetes control. And the second thing is your fasting insulin. So if you know your fasting insulin, if you know your HbA1c markers, then you don't have to worry too much about this CGM thing. And in this era, it just came as a fad again, just like the keto diet, etc. Carb fear and glucose fear and sugar fear, all of this just came up heavily, and there's like some companies, I'm not going to take names of any companies as such, but some companies are coming up with this CGM patches to capitalize on this fear of carbohydrates, fear of blood sugar levels, fear of sugar, fear of glucose, this and that, fear of fruits because that spikes your blood sugar levels. So this is the entire agenda that these people are trying to push in because of the low carb trend that is happening. But still, I'm here to tell you that you can do a keto diet, you can do a vegan diet, you can do whatever diet, okay? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much what you choose to do. It depends on your personal preference, and you can include carbohydrates, you can include fat in your diet. Just be mindful of your carbohydrates or fat, whatever you're consuming. Just have your regular goddamn protein and have your fruits, vegetables, keep everything in check, and you don't have to worry too much about it. But if you are a diabetic, if you're working with a doctor who demands a CGM, then please do it, okay? I'm nobody to interfere with your medical treatments. I never provide any medical advice for anyone, okay? This is just educational and nothing else. Please understand this. Having a CGM patch is like having a speed limit alarm in your car. You don't always need it, but it just tells you if you're driving too fast. But if you're driving safely, if you know how to drive safely, if you know how to follow guidelines of road safety, then you don't have to worry too much about having a speed limit alarm, right? So CGM is the same thing. You don't really need it. It's just there to tell you that your blood sugar level is rising too much. But in the first place, you should know what foods actually cause it, and the data is out there. Everyone knows it very easily, and that is why I always tell, if you don't want to spend too much time researching and getting to know stuff, then you can always get help from a nutritionist or a coach, and that would be the best thing. So this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching it, and this is my Instagram. If you want to hit me up for my personal coachings, video consultations, then you can head over to my Instagram and you can DM me there, or you can write to me on my email zealocityfit@gmail.com. It's in the description below. Please check it out. Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more interesting content, and I will see you very soon.